The future and the past are leaking into our heads. And it seems that the one transmitting to us doesn't even know who they are. It must be a powerful force, or a residual energy, something tied to the order of light, or the chaos. But there's clearly a reason it's being sent to me. There's a reason we're all seeing this. But I need more time, more information. The main thing is that we stick to the original plans and don't get too distracted. We need to continue to fight the madness of being lost in this emptiness by getting used to our dreams. Your perception will leak into your designated times and places to help us find the weakest crack. And you will also be transported into your fantasy football games to unlock the Green Bowl once more. I do have other news. Franklin contacted me to explain an odd vision. Something to do with someone else's bad dreams, and he thinks it's tied to his quest to contact one of his Shadow Brigade members. Franklin still feels an inner fear from being possessed by Obsitans of Bisus, almost like a part of the chaos was left behind in his brain. I tried to enter his mind to see if I can figure something out, but entire bits of memory are gone, almost like they were erased. Franklin doesn't even remember when he might have been possessed. His last memory before being trapped in the void with us is him telling his friends he found some sort of spatial disturbance in an abandoned mine shaft and that he was going to investigate. I must see if the Queen of the Aishi is hiding in my dreams, but these transmissions continue to stall me. In fact, I believe another is coming our way again. A different dimension? Perhaps. But certainly from the past. Listen. Mexico City, 1955. The city has been growing this century. It's now becoming more modern in its architecture. The first skyscraper and a main campus for a university. The PRI is also in the early days of its power, after Al Amon was elected president 9 years ago. Historical facts appear, mind hazy. How did I travel here? The key. Have I collected what I needed? Memories fading. Wasn't I in the future? No. The past? No. It's like someone is changing the channels in my head. Distortions. This is all wrong. Where am I, really? The Cleveland Browns will win the NFL title at the end of 1955. And the down by contact rule began. These random statistics in my head for a game. Wait. I do know. It's football. An American sport. But wait. It doesn't exist in Mexico City. What are these distractions? Are they even my thoughts? Or are they someone or something else's? The feeling in my stomach is worsening. How much more can I take? I float around a world I do not know. I do not belong here. The darkness in the corner of my eye. It seems sentient. I must find the key. The hiding places are folded within. Cleveland wrecked Los Angeles 38-14 in the 1955 title game. It is the city's second title in a row. Also, why do I see strange things flash before me? The stellar bitches, the overcomers. What does it all mean? The murals, the art that is the center of these new buildings, they don't make sense. The pictures, is this only what I see? A hidden code between my eyes and my dreams? Wait. I feel watched. I'm not alone. Perhaps I'm not invisible. I must hide. It's not safe here. I must hurry.
Even the void cannot see, cannot see, cannot see, cannot see. You will.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Ball! Lost in Dreamlands! Week 3, of course, is a very important week. It is the last time any of us will play divisional opponents until week 12. And with so many 1-1 teams, this week may be seen as a turning point for divisional title hopes. Remember, the second tiebreaker for divisional title is divisional record, so this does matter. There will be two 2-1 teams in both the European Void and Asia Pacific Void divisions. Everyone, of course, at 1-1. But the question mark is in the American Void division, with the only undefeated and only winless team in the league in that one. The out-of-divisional stretch is 8 games, so 2-1 teams don't guarantee anything. You could easily go on a losing streak and be on the outside looking in. Several teams have made the playoffs after an 0-3 start as well, so that doesn't guarantee anything. But 3-0 teams have never missed the playoffs in league history. So the next huge as undefeated the Stellar Bitches host 1-1 the Overcomers in Mexico City, 1955. Overcomers come in with a 54.8% chance to win based on expected lineup moves by the Stellar Bitches, who will be without Isaiah Pacheco and possibly A.J. Brown. Joe Mixon is also banged up, so this percentage is expected to change depending on what happens with the injuries. The computers obviously feared the Stellar Bitches' injuries, with the only undefeated team being just 5th in the power rankings, but we'll see if they affect her this week. The battle at quarterback here will go a long way in what is projected to be a low-scoring game of the week. C.J. Stroud has another tough matchup based on the early defensive play of the Vikings. Joe Burrow and Jared Goff both have been inconsistent regardless of who starts for the Bitches, so it will be interesting to see who steps up here. Obviously, a healthy Joe Mixon is needed as the Overcomers will look to continue the touchdown momentum with first-round pick Derrick Henry. Aaron Jones will also need to step up for the Overcomers to help make up points, but both teams have many question marks at wide receiver. The Cowboys versus 49ers defense battle might be how the Stellar Bitches stay in this match. The Niners have a way easier matchup, and the Cowboys certainly laid an egg against the Saints. Kicker will be another area to watch, with the Stellar Bitches having two options that are expected to get many field goal opportunities. And any touchdowns at the tight end position could be a difference maker when you have a low-scoring close game like this one is projected to be. But there are two players I'll be watching with their uncertain production. For the Overcomers, I turn to recent waiver pickup wide receiver Quentin Johnson from the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are still looking to see who takes over that number one wide receiver role after losing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. The options are Joshua Palmer, rookie Ladd McConkey, who already has a touchdown in his rookie year, and the second-year player Johnston. Johnston did not do much last year, finishing with just 431 yards and 2 touchdowns on 38 receptions. He was targeted just 67 times, but again, the Chargers had Williams and Allen. Even with injuries with them, Johnston just wasn't getting enough production. In 2 games in 2024, Johnston already matched his touchdown total from last year and has 89 yards on 8 catches with 11 targets. A pace of 785 yards and 93 targets, which would be increases from last year, obviously. But those increases don't blow you away. Especially when you're talking about a team's top wide receiver. Maybe a better note is the snap percentage. Right now it's at 69% average through the 2 games. It's actually below what it was in the last half of last season, something to keep in mind. Johnston has had the majority of his production as a rookie with a snap share percentage at 70 or higher. And of course, you can say the same thing going into this year. But the true watch here is if Johnston starts to get a majority of targets, or if Ladd McConkey will continue to get better, share targets, and possibly take over the number one role. Depends on who's more talented, right? Who actually is showing skill on the field, who's learning the playbook, all those things. Of course, Justin Herbert is going to be needed regardless of who's catching the ball. If any of those wide receivers are going to do well, they need a quarterback to throw to them. And there's really not anyone else besides Justin Herbert on the Chargers. His ankle injury could limit the passing production regardless of who plays. If the Overcomers are caught chasing touchdowns after Johnston had 2 last week, then a regression here would be a big reason why they may lose. However, if Herbert plays and Johnston starts to get those number one wideout targets, it could be the start of something special on her fantasy squad, something she wants, as her wide receivers have struggled. Christian Kirk, notably. Meanwhile, the Stellar Bitches have a much tougher road to success if A.J. Brown cannot go. And with the Pacheco injury, it will be up to her other backs, especially since Joe Mixon may be limited here. So that means I'm looking at running back Najee Harris. Despite what some may say about him, Harris has actually been a decent running back too in the last 3 seasons, finishing with over 1,000 yards in each of them and also averaging at least 7 touchdowns. Those numbers don't blow you away, but they show you how he's a solid second or third running back on your team if you do have others to depend on. But the stellar bitches don't need running back 2 numbers. They need running back 1 numbers and possibly overall top 12 numbers with the other injuries. Harris will most likely have to score multiple times for that to happen, as he has just 139 yards on 37 carries so far, or less than 4 yards a carry. That's not going to get it done. He hasn't scored yet either, and he pretty much gets 0 production out of the passing game. So Harris is essentially a touchdown or bust running back so far. One thing to note is that Harris does have a good matchup against the Chargers, and he did the most damage last season when he had over 20 carries in those final 2 games. The problem is that Justin Fields is expected to be the quarterback again, and he's someone who runs as well, so he vultures yards from your running back. And he also struggles to consistently pass well, which makes defenses just stack the box and force Fields to beat him. Harris will need to be efficient with the few goal line carries he's expected to get. But again, in this low-scoring game of the week matchup based on projections against the overcomers, all it takes is 1 touchdown to flip that script. If Harris can score in this big spot, the stellar bitches will feel a little better about their chances, barring a beast game on the other side. But if Harris once again puts up pedestrian numbers, it could be lights out on the dream of an undefeated season. Of course, this is a very special game of the week with so much on the line in the American Void Division before we get to the out-of-divisional play. The struggles of preseason top-ranked Air Jordan means taking advantage of it now is a priority. I mean, Christian McCaffrey will return at some point, right? Can Air Jordan continue to be as down as he is? We don't know. Remember, the Titans is thinking the same thing as they get ready to take on Air Jordan this week. So let's check out that matchup and all the others in the best of the rest. Jordan hosts 1-1 Remember the Titans, and the computer show Remember the Titans has a 57.3% chance to win based on whether Air Jordan's trade for Dalton Kincaid comes through and if Kenneth Walker misses another game. If Walker plays, this is closer to a 50-50 toss-up. The tight end matchup will be watched closely here with Pitts against either Kincaid or Bowers, depending on that trade. Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes, Rachaad White versus Jahmyr Gibbs, the Buccaneers versus Steelers defense, and Jamar Chase versus Devontae Adams are all key areas. Also, Rashid Rice could cancel out Mahomes touchdowns, and the battle between Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed is about who gets the touchdowns. In the European Void, 1-1 the Clash at Demon Head hosts 1-1 Minerva's Minions and enters with a 54% chance to win. Anthony Richardson will need to correct rookie mistakes and get back to scoring over 20 points here as the Clash at Demon Head have an injured Jordan Love or Trevor Lawrence on the other side. Saquon Barkley will also need to outplay Jonathan Taylor, while the Jaguars need to get Travis Etienne the ball more in order to keep up with Brian Robinson. The biggest areas are at wide receiver with the struggles the Minervas have had in that position. Garrett Wilson versus Brandon Ayuk and Jamison Williams versus Stephon Diggs might be very, very huge here. And don't sleep on the flex as DeAndre Swift matches up with Zamir White. Next, 1-1 Low-Key Lebowski Thor hosts 1-1 More Than Conquerors, and the road team comes in with a 65.8% chance to win. A little surprising there. The questions for Lebowski Thor are whether Alvin Kamara and Marvin Harrison Jr. can have big performances again, though none are expected to score over 20 points. Obviously, that's a rarity for anyone. More Than Conquerors will hope that Jordan Mason and CeeDee Lamb do enough to either win those matchups or limit any potential advantage they might get. Kyler Murray versus Jalen Hurts, DK Metcalf versus Tyreek Hill, and the Colts versus Jets defenses are the other key places to watch. Finishing up with the Asia Pacific Void, 1-1 Green Acres hosts 1-1 Pounders in Tokyo 1981. Green Acres will hope Derek Carr continues his hot start, while Pounders is going with Josh Allen right now. This will always be a matchup to watch when a team plays Pounders because of the quarterback depth on that squad. The battle of running backs on Thursday night with Breece Hall versus Ramondre Stevenson is interesting. Hall is expected to obviously score more points, but if Stevenson continues to score touchdowns, it might not be as big of an advantage as Pounders hopes. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Nico Collins versus Chris Godwin and Alec Pierce are other places to pay attention to here, as well as the Bears versus Bills defense matchup. Pounders also expects his trade for Brock Bauer to go through, so Bowers versus Sam Laporta might also play a role. Lastly, 1-1 Risky Business hosts the 1-1 Elite Mother Tuckers, and it is a 50-50 toss-up at the moment, fitting with how the Elite Mother Tuckers are now the number 1 ranked team in the power rankings, with Risky Business ranked 3rd. Baker Mayfield has been solid, while Dak Prescott has underperformed. That will be a key spot, obviously. Devon Achane may get all the work in Miami, but Kyren Williams is also expected to get plenty of carries for the Rams. Justin Jefferson versus Devontae Smith, Mark Andrews versus George Kittle, and J.K. Dobbins versus Tony Pollard are the other interesting matchups. The Browns versus Chargers defense could also loom large in what is expected to be a close, high-scoring week for both Risky Business and the Elite Mother Tuckers. So who will be in first place after this week? Does it even matter in the long run? Well, perhaps it does. Teams that are in first place after 3 weeks have won their division 70% of the time since this league started in 2015. That means 19 out of 27 teams leading by record or tiebreaker after week 3 have gone on to stay in front by the end of the regular season. That is a wild stat, and one that could bring some extra motivation into this huge week of games. And that's the show for the week. Hope you had as much fun as me. Next week begins the next stage of our season with the first 8 divisional crossover games, and the beginning of bye weeks is just 2 weeks away, so there will certainly be multiple surprises in store for all of us still, as there is every single season. Before you go, check out the updated standings. Until next time, salud.